More intellectual acumen is needed to become an electrician or auto mechanic than is needed to do what 99% of lawyers now do. At the same time, people who go into law think they will make a lot of money. These two factors, operating jointly, have generated a huge overabundance of lawyers. And because of the huge overabundance of lawyers, business owners, physicians, parents, children, etc. have a good chance of being sued. With rare exceptions, lawyers do nothing positive. Contrary to public opinion, they do not get drug dealers acquitted. They turn non-drug dealers into drug dealers, by siphoning public and private resources away from endeavors that need it and deserve it, such as education, into the hands of the mediocrities who get a JD from one of the many JD mills now available to service this non-sector of the economy. A particularly brazen example of a farce of a law school is the University of Richmond. Every single graduate of the University of Richmond has to work in the city of Richmond, where they have arrangements with judges, police officers, and other bureaucrats, whereby those lawyers remain employed. On the rare occasions when a University of Richmond law school graduate tries a case in another city, he is laughed out of court. So, yes, there are fewer vacancies for lawyers, real estate agents, and stockbrokers, but there are far more vacancies than there should be. Actually, there is a negative number of vacancies in these professions. There are, it is said, around 1 million lawyers who are working as lawyers in this country. That means that there are 975,000 lawyers who do have jobs but shouldn't have jobs and, therefore, 975,000 negative vacancies. Be it noted that there is a place for lawyers in any given country. There have to be rules and procedures. So lawyers are not inherently useless. Real estate agents, however, are inherently useless. 1.2.1 In this country, students don't learn anything about economics, no economics classes in K-12, and no required economics in college. And the economics training received by economics majors and postgraduates is rubbish. The courses taught are either absurdly, gratuitously technical, and lack practical utility as well as theoretical significance, and fail even relative to their own terms. Or the classes consist of pathetically transparent attempts to rationalize spending as opposed to earning, borrowing as opposed to saving, dependence on the state, either in the form of a useless bureaucrat job or in the form of outright welfare, as opposed to private initiate and self-reliance, personal connections over merit, seniority over industry. Never is it mentioned that a streamlined business provides a good work product, that when businesses aren't kept small, or driven into oblivion, by exorbitant compliance fees, they have the time and money to provide their customers with a high-quality and inexpensive work product, that it is always the state, and never entrepreneurs, who engage in discriminatory practices, since entrepreneurs will work with anyone competent, whereas public sector's employees, working as they do in a zero-sum context, are threatened by people who go that extra mile and therefore more than happy to avail themselves of any reason for walling such people out. Economics majors do not learn what is involved in creating infrastructure, such as sub-Saharan Africa sorely needs right now. They are not taught anything about the economics, or, more generally, the logistics, of road building, the provision of clean water, a stable electrical grid, the need for sustainable agricultural practices. They are taught about monetary policy. They don't learn anything about the construction or preservation of the sort of infrastructure presupposed by the existence of monetary policy. They are taught that raising interest rates does this, whereas lowering them does that. They are not taught that a nation of emotional and intellectual cripples is not a nation for long, it being of little relevance what the Federal Reserve does. A great deal of attention is paid to economic models that, in addition to being obviously artificial, presuppose the existence of economies of scale and therefore of people who can build bridges, pave roads, build houses, etc., unlike 100 of university graduates, and, consequently, are irrelevant even if they are correct, which they are not. To the extent that legitimate material is learned, it is more in the nature of philosophy, logic puzzles, general methodological precepts, and, though legitimate, and perhaps even important, in its theoretical way, should not constitute the entirety of an economist's education. 1.2.2 A striking feature of economics curricula, at both the undergraduate and graduate levels, is that they do not offer classes on development economics, the economics of developing nations. Development economics is true economics. Adam Smith was a development economist, as was Alfred Marshall. Once an economy is airborne, economic theories are useless and untestable. Which is why such courses are not offered. Economics professors in this day and age either don't participate in the management of economies or, if they do so participate, they ruin them. We have Paul Krugman to thank for destroying the U.S. economy and Jeffrey Sachs to thank for destroying the Russian economy, which, after 20 years, is just beginning to emerge from the rubble under which his policies left it. It is not hard to teach a class in microeconomics. A suitably trained 8th grader could do so. The course instructor does not have to generate new material, he does not have to think on the spot, he doesn't even have to answer student questions, he has to respond to them, if only to dismiss them or use them as a rhetorical jumping-off point for the next leg of the lecture, but he doesn't have to answer them. The point being, economics professors don't know anything about economics. A consequence being, neither do students of economics. In fact, in most university courses, and I personally have taught top-level courses in mathematics and philosophy and public policy, the professor is seriously penalized, both by the students who complain and his own department chair who uses such complaints against him, if he goes off message. The students want to be told exactly what to do. This does not mean that they want rigor, they do not. But they do want structure. That is, they want structure in the social sense, masquerading as structure in the intellectual sense. And if a professor is even suspected of having doubts as to the party line he is supposed to toe, the students file bitter complaints against him. The result, and this is university-wide, is that so-called professors are, for the most part, essentially high IQ but not too high IQ handholders and entertainers, and university, from the student's perspective, is like a trip to Club Med, where the professor is a pretend pirate giving a pretend tour to high-paying and, if they aren't happy, high-whining vacationers. 1.2.3 But these points are moot, since most high school graduates are simply too stupid, because their latent gifts haven't been suppressed, not activated, by their K-12 education, to major in economics, the result being that the vast majority of college students lack the acumen needed to complete even a single economics course. 1.3. This brings us to a widely held misconception about the state of education. It is constantly said that education is a business. No, it is not a business. If it were a business, it would work. Microsoft is a business. Hyundai is a business. Colleges are not businesses. They are parastatal actors, government bureaucracies posing as private sector service providers. Proof of this lies in the utter uniformity of the uniformly useless line of goods purveyed by this nation's high schools and colleges. Millennials complain that they are overeducated and underemployed. Wrong on both counts. They are not educated at all. An educated person ipso facto is an economically viable person. And they are overemployed. Graduates of degree-mill-sued universities are proverbially unemployable. They have the sense of entitlement of a senior cardiothoracic surgeon and lack both the skills and the work ethic of the average janitor. So, no, they are not underemployed. They are overemployed. It is only relative to their desire to be parasites that they are underemployed.